Is this thing working? Are we live? I think we're live. What's happening, everybody? It's Two Wheel Tuesday, talking all things motorcycle. This is my live show. It's my opportunity to interact directly with you guys. Typically, I post up standalone videos. Lots of times, it's how-to videos and ride-along videos with motorcycles, reviews, things like that. But the live show is my opportunity to hang out with you guys, kind of work on some upcoming material, do some dress rehearsal type stuff. You get the idea. But the main thing is just hanging out, having a good time, and talking about stuff like this. So it is a long form. It is a live show. So you never know really what direction this is going to go in. So if you're new to the show, it's basically just a background noise generator, quite honestly, like most of my channel is anyway. So guys, what I wanted to talk about in the live show tonight was, well, basically which motorcycle is right for you. And this is where, for a lot of guys, things get a bit weird in a way, because many times you'll talk to guys about motorcycles and you'll find that what they're riding really may not be what's the best bike for them. A lot of times folks will let their egos step in and dictate which bike they go with. A little bit of peer pressure, so to speak, sometimes. And the main thing I want to convey to you guys with this video is that it's the most important thing that you can do in your riding journey. Now, you're going to have all kinds of different interests throughout your time riding bikes. Pick the bike that you like. Pick the bike that speaks to you. The funny thing about motorcycles is that the right one will find you. Your eyes are going to fall on insert bike here, and it's immediately going to gel. It's a weird thing when it comes to bikes, and it's something that is difficult to explain, but immediately recognizable once you get a chance to experience it. Hey, we got a couple of people in the live already. Ryan is in saying, "What's up, Professor?" Carl is in saying, "What up, B?" What up, Carl? Hope you guys are having a good evening. So what we're talking about primarily tonight, guys, is which bike is right for you, or more importantly, don't pick the wrong bike. And in essence, I guess that's really almost more the point. Don't pick the wrong bike. Don't pick something because you feel pressured into it. In other words, don't be the guy that buys the leader class sport bike when maybe a middleweight sport naked fits you better. It fits your personality, fits your riding style, fits your experience, or it fits how you're going to ride far better than what the other bike is going to give. And Ryan, exactly, bring up the absolute best point. You got to ride them all. You absolutely have to. You can't take for granted what it feels like to just sit on the bike. You don't just sit on the bike. This is a very dynamic thing. And what a lot of folks fail to remember, or maybe they just weren't taught this, is that you and the motorcycle, you create this thing, this cyborg organism. You know what I mean? You are integral to the motorcycle. The motorcycle can't exist without you. It literally can't run unless it has a rider. The rider is part of the aerodynamic profile of the machine. These bikes are all designed in a way that assumes that they have a rider on them, whether it's a sport bike, standard, it doesn't matter. They all take into account the rider portion, the rider profile, how you generate drag, all of that. And so a bike that you look at initially, you might just absolutely love, but you get on the thing, you ride it, and you find out, it's a kind of bit of a cramped riding position, or man, I don't feel as comfortable with my legs that low, or I really would prefer a cruiser because I did like that forward control, or whatever the case is. You've got to ride these things. And this is why it is so important. And again, nothing can be more humbling than if you are not honest with yourself. This is why it's so important to be honest with yourself when it comes to picking a bike. Now, me, guys, look, I have been riding a motorcycle since I was very young. My first motorcycle was a PW50 when I was 5 years of age. There's been only certain gaps in time where I haven't had access to a motorcycle. So for me, being without a bike is more the weird thing than me being with a bike. So my situation's a little bit unique. And for me, I just love being on two wheels, but I can understand that a lot of folks, it makes them nervous. You know, being on a motorcycle can be scary for a lot of folks. And this is one of those scenarios where picking a bike that's scary to add scary to more scary, now you got scary squared. That's not necessarily what you want to do. And if you are being honest and you feel like maybe riding a motorcycle is dangerous, but you really want to do this, this is something that excites you, it's a skill set that you want to learn, then again, starting with something small. I recently did a video on the OG trainer bike, the Honda Rebel 250. And in that video, I'm saying, look, there's guys that buy these things that took a MSF class, which is the Motorcycle Safety Foundation. They took a Motorcycle Safety Foundation class. They were on a Rebel 250. They gelled with it. They love it. And next thing you know, they're riding around on small CC motorcycles just in and around town, loving it and not having any more cares in the world about big power and doing, you know, crazy stuff that a lot of us tend to do. Although I will say that Rebel 250 in some cases can be a little bit sketchy. So at least you get a little bit of that to go along with it. But anyway, yeah, there's a major case to be made for anybody that would want to look into getting started in motorcycling, but you're worried that, oh, well, I'm not going to, you know, I want an R6 or I want a, you know, GSX-R 750. I want this powerful sport bike, or I want this big, powerful Harley Davidson, or I want whatever the case is. The thing is that you want to make sure that you don't get scared out of motorcycling in general. This is something else that happens to happen a lot with guys, is that they'll get started, they'll get their motorcycle endorsement, and then immediately go out and buy something that is far too powerful. And you haven't developed the set of skills yet to be able to manage the kind of speeds that these machines can get you to. And it's really not even the speed that they can go. It's how quickly they can transition from just kind of puttering around to triple digit speeds. And what happens to a lot of guys is they don't build up their skill set. They just kind of cannonball into an activity. And so things like target fixation and tunnel vision really do come into play. And it's a terrible combination when those two effects come together, and it's like a double bounce of problems. And this is where guys typically will have their will have a tendency to crash more, is because they target fixate, but they're going too fast. And then they know they're going too fast. They then target fixate and things go completely wrong. So again, there's no shame and no issue with anybody on motorcycling to start off small. In fact, there's a stigma with bikes that if you jump into something far too powerful, far too quickly, that's stupid. So what I'm here to do really tonight is just say, look, I get it. I mean, you'll see me on riding reviews and I'm kind of wailing on some of these bikes and it looks like a lot of fun, which it is. And I mean, it's a whole lot of fun, but this is, you know, I feel like I'm Liam Neeson. This is a set of skills that took years to cultivate, you know, and I have a particular set of skills. And look, I'm not even all that great. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time, and yeah, track days and up in the mountains and, you know, all this other stuff. Yeah, I got good at being fast, but that doesn't translate into being good at having fun. And at the end of it all, the main thing is, are you having fun? If you ever find yourself in a sketchy situation, roll off the throttle and chill. Sometimes you get yourself in a little bit over your head and you learn a few things. That's good, but you don't want to get over your head so much that something really bad happens, and then what you've learned is you don't want to be on a motorcycle anymore. So we definitely want to keep y'all away from that. Let me check back in with you guys. Carl saying almost a symbiotic relationship, if you will. That's exactly right. And that's something that a lot of new to motorcycling folks don't capture straight away, is that a motorcycle is just as much a suit that you're putting on, so to speak, as it is a machine with two wheels. Everything that you do affects the motorcycle. The way that you lean on the motorcycle, lean off the motorcycle, how you position your weight, how you tuck, everything that you do on a motorcycle affects how you as an organism get down the road. The way I used to explain it is you are completing the organism that is now the motorcycle rider interface, so to speak. Carl's in Carl at the same time. Ryan saying butt puckering effect. Yes. Yes. So I'll tell you what, one of the worst scenarios, and this is something that I've tried to, whenever I'm riding with my friends, I always ask, okay, how many decreasing radius turns are we looking at? Because there's nothing worse than setting up a line on a curve and you're looking through the curve. You're never looking where you're at. You kind of scan and make sure there's nothing, but you're always looking where you want to go. And so there's nothing worse than looking where you want to go and you feel yourself, we hit a decreasing radius. So you're rolling off the throttle. You never want to try to lean more. You always want to scrub if you can, speed, and you're going scrub, 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 and then you start rolling back into the throttle. There's one ride with the guys that I ride with, where we ride, there are 3 left-handers in one direction that are all decreasing radius. Now on the backside, they all are increasing radius. So they're fast as hell on the backside, but there's 3. I know kind of where they are, and it's back to back to back. And there's this one section of corners that I just kind of chill through. I'm like, dude, I'll rock out in all these others, but I'm going to go chill mode through this section right here because it has screwed me up every other time. And so anyway, there's one in particular that I know gets me, but guys, I'm more than happy to admit when, I kind of overcooked that turn a little bit. Nothing about what I did was right. We don't always get them right. Right. So anyway, just again, it's always, and listen, what I was getting to earlier is nothing is more humbling than riding a motorcycle. It's one of those funny things where you can have your skill set exposed for all the world to see very, very quickly when you're on a bike. The way I've always kind of equated it, it's a lot like boxing, right? Like just because you can ride a bicycle doesn't mean that and you can do it really well, doesn't mean that you're going to ride a motorcycle very well. And it's kind of the same thing. Any sport that you think you might be good at because you've seen it a few times on TV and you think you've got what it takes, right? There's absolutely nothing more humbling than getting out there and doing this. And if you're not being honest with yourself or you've got delusions of grandeur, that'll get exposed pretty quickly. And for the guys that I've ridden with, one of the things that I can tell you as somebody that will maintain a real advanced clip is when somebody goes, man, I'm just not comfortable going fast. I don't feel comfortable with the road. I don't like the tarmac. I don't like this or whatever. Can we just chill or, whatever? I'm like, absolutely. We can just chill. We can just, of course, because I don't care. I have zero ego when I'm on a bike. It's funny too, because it's kind of refreshing to hear guys say that instead of have somebody try to trailer the group that I ride with only to get shook in 2 or 3 corners. And, it's like, that's kind of how it works out. And I would say I'm not even all that fast with the group of guys that I ride with and with the group of guys that I used to ride with in Northern California. On track, I'm a middle to back of the pack A group rider, middle to top of the pack, depending on the group, B group rider. Usually top of B group though. And, but on the street, I'm typically like not going crazy because I don't trust the street. I don't trust the tarmac either. So, and I'm also one of the guys too, and people, if you've seen some of my videos, you may or may not believe this, but I'll get out there and I'll ride and I'll go, oh wow, a cow, you know, la la la. You know, I'm kind of in la la land just because I'm having fun on two wheels. And I think that is the most important thing is if you're doing something and it's not fun, do something that's fun, play. And because the thing is if you're playing, it's not work. If you're trying to be good, then that's work. The times where I've improved the most is when I was just out playing, goofing off and having fun. DM's checking in. What's up, man? Good evening, chat friends. Hello, DM. Ryan saying sometimes you grow out of your bikes too with more riding experience. Absolutely. Hey, Ryan brings up a really good point. So check this out. A lot of times, let's say you started out and you got pretty good with a smaller displacement bike. Say it was a Ninja 500 and you got yourself into a true super sport bike. You got yourself a 600 GSXR 600, for example, and you're out there, you're having fun with it. You do a couple of track days. You're out there with your buddies on B and C roads. And then you wake up one day and you're like, man, I don't really know if I want to do the fast boy thing anymore. I kind of like that sport naked. I like maybe a little bit more displacement, maybe a little bit more comfort. I want to try something new. And that's the thing. It's kind of easy to find yourself outgrowing or looking at all the other different types of bikes that are available out there. And yeah, you can find yourself easily transitioning out of one type of motorcycle and into another. And it's seamless. You find yourself going, oh man, this is how the other side lives. Cool, man. I like this. Maybe we're into sport bikes and now you're getting into cruisers or vice versa. It doesn't matter. It happens to pretty much everybody. Carl saying, I grew up doing BMX stunts and riding downhill mountain bikes at Whistler Downhill Park. Very cool. Honestly, I feel like it helped me a lot with my balance on motorcycles after I got used to the weight. Absolutely, it does. Absolutely, it does. So I was big. I had my old PW50, which was awesome. My cousin and I both had the same bike. I got a KX80 after that, was up in the National Forest doing a ton of enduro with that bike, and then got into motocross, had a lot of fun with that. So for me, I was always on two wheels somehow, some way. And of course, friends of mine had three-wheelers or motorcycles or whatever. So we were always going out raising hell. So that was a lot of fun. Speaking of raising hell. So where I lived, they were building a municipal golf course not too far from there. Now you take a kid that had been doing nothing but fast enduro and motocross racing and put him anywhere near a golf course with no grass on it yet. Even they're just putting the hills together. Yeah. Had a lot of fun with that. DM saying you got to enjoy the scenery, stop and hydrate. Absolutely. You'd be surprised. Riding a motorcycle takes a lot out of you. I'll tell you, it's like doing a lower body workout when we go out. I mean, it's, you know, you'll definitely be working your core, your abs for sure, glutes, legs, all of that. One thing I would always say is watch your diet. Make sure you don't have to take a dump halfway through this thing, end up pushing something out when you're leaning the bike over. You know, there's a lot that you have to take into account, especially once you start going faster and faster. You want to make sure that, you know, you're staying hydrated, that you're enjoying the scenery. DM brings up a great point. Enjoy the scenery, enjoy everything that's around you. Again, don't take the riding so seriously that you miss the forest for the trees. And for so many guys, this ends up kind of happening. And everybody goes through this phase where you're trying to get either really good, trying to get really fast, or whatever the case is. And you kind of miss the fun of riding, man. Check out the scenery. You know, one of the coolest things about riding a motorcycle, and this is what all of us that ride, you you'll pick up on this really quick is when you hit a thermal, like you're cruising down the road and for whatever reason, it just gets really cold or really hot. And then it gets really cold or really hot back, whatever it was before. Those are kind of fun. Take the time to enjoy those things. Oh, Henry's saying just went on a ride this afternoon. You took that when you got home. Very nice. It's always a good opportunity to be on two wheels for sure. Ryan saying, I know I've been talking about upgrading my CF Moto 675 SS to the Gixxer 750, but I rode a CF Moto 700 CLX Sport, which had my interest peaked. It's Cafe Scrambler. So here you go. And that's the cool thing. I mean, there's so many different types of bikes out there that are so cool to ride. And the thing that I found, and again, guys, I ride all kinds of different bikes. You've seen all my ride reviews, but even before that, I would take every opportunity that I had to ride motorcycles. But guys, there's so many different types of bikes out there that you'll find pretty quickly that certain motorcycles will pigeonhole you into a certain kind of riding. Let me give you a perfect example of that. Ryan's talking about his 675. Well, the thing is that a sport bike is going to make you want to ride and do sport bike things. Maybe you're just not in the mood for sport bike stuff. Maybe you'd rather do more cruiser activities, or like with the cafe style scramblers, maybe you want something that's a bit more of a casual ride, something that's a bit more fun, something that's a bit less demanding of your skill set to ride and enjoy. And that's where a lot of these more upright, a lot of the vintage bikes fall into that category. My Bonneville T120 slides exactly into that category. And so having the experience of being on those types of bikes, what that's taught me is that there's so many ways to have fun. And I've never met a motorcycle that I didn't like on some level. And because of that, I find myself, I almost found myself pausing there for a minute. I've never met a motorcycle that I didn't like. That's not exactly true. I don't want to pan any motorcycle right yet, but there have been a couple. One of them I did a ride and review on that I will be happy never to ride again, only because the technology isn't quite there yet. Okay, look, never mind. Anyway, look, the fact of the matter is this. There are so many different kinds of bikes out there. And now, speaking of technology, with the changing technology with automatic transmissions and assisted clutches, it's allowing so many more people to get into riding. And it's taking a lot of the intimidation factor away from the riding experience, so that folks that maybe wouldn't have gotten into riding now are going, man, that might be a pretty cool idea. So just because I might not be in love with a certain type of technology doesn't mean that it's not fit for somebody else. And a motorcycle like the CBR 650 with the E-clutch, that would be a great motorcycle to transition into, because it will forgive whoopsies if you forget to put the bike in neutral and you let the clutch out, or you get the idea. Innovations like Yamaha's automatic transmission or Honda's DCT. These are all phenomenal new technologies that for a lot of guys, this might be why they get back into riding. Maybe there's a medical issue, medical reason why they can't really shift gears or whatever. It doesn't matter. There's reasons why the automatic transmission bikes are a perfect fit. And truth be told, that Rebel 1100 that I did the ride and review on, it's the biggest video that I have in terms of viewership of any video that I put out in a very long time. And so many people love that bike, and myself included. If you haven't had a chance to see it, that Rebel 1100 with the DCT is a lot of fun to ride, but it's not only fun to ride, it's extremely intuitive with how it gets down the road, downshifts and all of that. It's a proper little hot rod. And with that level of technology and fun comes an extremely inviting personality for folks, again, that may or may not have gotten into bikes. Oh, Energy took a nap. Nice. DM saying smooth is fast, fast is smooth. I don't worry about being fast. Yeah, the thing is that you can't be fast realistically. It fast only falls into a very narrow band on the spectrum of riding. And you're saying, I just went from a clutch 950 Bolt to a Honda Rebel 1100 DCT. Dude, okay, so I was just talking about that bike. Rebel 1100 DCT was an eye opener for me, guys. That bike is way more fun than it should be. And with the changes that Honda made for 2025, with the foot position being a little bit more forward, with the, I guess they made some changes to the transmissions programming. It's so smooth, so intuitive. Everything about that bike is just really good. And so I got to tell you, as far as the most recent bikes go that I've ridden, I mean, that one's really on the top of the list. And it's on the top of a lot of folks' lists going by how many people have been watching that video. So thank you all very much if you've had the opportunity to see it. I appreciate your time on that one. Carl's asking, off topic, I heard you mention Foxy recently, but not sure if you still have Revlon. No, I do not still have Revlon. Revlon exited the garage and is with her new owner now, who absolutely adores her, from what I'm understanding. Skids is checking in saying, hey, B, oh, he's got the ball guy with the flex and the shades. I like it. Ryan said, I rode a CF Moto 700 CLX Sport, and I think instead of upgrading the 675 to the Gixxer 750, I think I'm going to have 3 bikes now, the CLX and the 675 and the Scout. I'll tell you what, as Ryan's saying, sometimes you must expand the stables. Yeah, so listen, that's the cool thing about all this, though, is that, you know, and with the CF Moto, here's the other thing. You know, a lot of folks were trying to give CF Moto a bit of a stigma because it's a Chinese brand. Guys, I got news for you. Everything is a Chinese brand, okay? So let's not fool ourselves here. And CF Moto is doing some amazing things with the products that they're putting out. I wouldn't be surprised if in the next few years you keep seeing that trend expand. They are doing exceptionally well, and for a lot of good reasons. It's a great bike, well put together. So far as most people can tell at this stage of the game, reliability doesn't seem to be an issue. And at that price, it's a steal of a value. So anyway, those are some of the things that, you know, again, it falls a bit in lockstep with what we're talking about, is choosing the right bike, picking the right bike for you, and try them all out. That's the thing. I mean, the good thing about motorcycles, variety is the spice of life when it comes to bikes. There are so many different just genres of motorcycle. You got your scrambler, your retro cafe, your modern neo retro. You've got your sport bikes. You got your cruisers, and in each one of those segments, you have subsets. There's so many different bikes that are out there. I can't name them all because, I mean, God, there's just so many. And then there's so many manufacturers that do such a great job of bringing them to market that by the time it's all said and done, it's almost paralysis by analysis, really. At that point, you can be, your decision can be stunted by the selection and by the variety that you have to choose from. So pick the bikes that you like, pick the styles that you like, ride them. If you like them good enough to buy them, then get them out there and enjoy them. But don't ever feel like you are beholden to any of them. And you're not just because you bought a cruiser doesn't mean you have to own a cruiser for the rest of your life. Or, you know, just because you bought a Yamaha doesn't mean you have to own Yamaha for the rest of your life, or any other brand for that matter. Just get out there and have fun, pick the stuff you like, ride it, and, you know, whatever stigmas or whatever else, this 2025, I think most of us are all past that at this stage. And I'll tell you what, it has been so much fun being able to ride as many different bikes as I've been able to ride. And I'll give you guys a perfect example of this. The one segment that I never thought that I would ever gel with is probably the one segment that I have gelled with the most. and that is the sport utility segment. These dual purpose style motorcycles like the Honda Africa Twin, the Suzuki V-Strom 800, the Harley Davidson Pan America, those types of bikes. I never thought that I would really be into them until I rode them. And then I became very much into them. And it all started with me taking a Tiger 660 for a test drive. And the Tiger 660 led into the Tiger 850, which led into the Tiger 900. And as I was riding these bikes and being overwhelmingly impressed by them, not only from a comfort standpoint, but from a riding position, it's very commanding. And from a power position, these bikes are pretty fast. I mean, they're not sport bike, super bike fast, but that's hardly the point. These are big, dual purpose, kind of go and do anything and everything types of motorcycles that are easily clipping over 100 miles an hour. And it's just kind of crazy to think that that kind of bike would have that type of a performance envelope. But here we were, right? So, I never thought that I would like that type of bike. Come to find out, it's one of my favorite types of bikes that I could ride. And, another one is that, I'm not really a cruiser guy, but man, that Harley Davidson Street Glide kind of got me where it hurts, man. And I got to tell you, if I had room in the stable and room in the budget, I would have taken that bike that I rode home. That's how much I like that Street Glide. So yeah, that's kind of cool, and, listen, at some point, yeah, I'm going to be adding another motorcycle to my stable. What will it be? I couldn't tell you. I have no clue. But I can tell you that as I've had more of an opportunity to ride different types of motorcycles and interact with folks that own all kinds of different bikes, I can tell you that it'll probably be a bike that I didn't even see coming. Will be the one that I end up bringing home next. We just kind of got to get through this GSXR 1000 first. Got a windscreen coming, but yeah, I'm having way too much fun with that bike. And I'll tell you what, me and the Gixxer Thou, we besties. So yes, but it won't be another sport bike. It might not be. I say it won't be another sport bike. God, the GSXR 750 was so good to ride. And it was such a trip down memory lane too. Ryan saying, CF Moto launched the CF Moto Lite in other countries, focusing on smaller displacement bikes. Guys, I'm telling you, we need more small displacement bikes out into the world. Seriously. I'll tell you what, if more folks, and this is the thing, where I think every manufacturer needs to take a page out of Triumph's book right now. They are selling that Bajaj made Speed 400 and the Scrambler 400. They are selling that bike as fast as they can make them, it seems right now. And I got to tell you, it's bikes like that that keep manufacturers in business. And they're a lot of fun to ride too. Fun fact, yes, the Speed 400 will indeed do 100 miles per hour. Ask me how I know. Skid saying, yes, the Street Glide is so much fun. Got a new seat for mine. LaPera tail whip, very nice. The looks are second to none. I like that. So Break Stuff saying you need a classic in the stable. Find a GS 1100E or something like that, dude. Okay, so yes, the GS 1100 would probably be number one on the list for a classic. Next on the list would be maybe a GPZ 900R. You'd know it as the Top Gun bike. When I was a kid, like super little, those were the bikes that my dad would have been racing back in the day. My dad, for those that are on the channel or that are on the chat right now may not know, my dad used to street race a lot back when I was a kid. Cars and motorcycles. And he had a 1974 Kawasaki Z1. That was his primary street race bike. But yeah, that type of bike was what I would have seen when I was a kid. And so I've looked into it. The only downside, I'll tell you this, classic bikes can be a little bit of a hit and miss thing. You really need to have a solid history on the bike, because there are, how do I put this? Just because it looks good on the outside doesn't mean everything's going well. Frames cracking is a real problem for classic bikes. I've looked into this a little bit, and the more I've had a chance to dive into it, the more I'm starting to land on bikes kind of like I already have. I've got the 98 Daytona, which was my dad's bike. If there is something that I would want to get into that is a little bit more true to the old school, though, yeah, that GS would be probably on the top of that list. It's still one of my all-time favorites. DM's asking, B, do you go to the MotoGP races when it's here in the US? They're fantastic. I haven't yet, but when they come to COTA, there's always a chance that I'll show up. I would love to go, though. Skid saying, love the old Honda VFRs. Very much so. Awesome bikes. Remember the old Honda Interceptors. Those were so cool too. The red, white, and blue bikes. Breaks up say my dad had a 74 Z1 too. Nice. I have an 80 KZ1000. Oh, damn. Yes. KZ1, baby. Those are killer bikes. So break stuff. Check this out. So my dad and I, when I was getting back into drag racing, my dad and I were very seriously looking into building a KZ1000 drag race bike. And it was basically going to be a frame, extended swing arm, something kind of basic, but wanted to have a little bit of a dropped old school drag race bike. And we were going, man, it'd be cool as hell to have like original Muzzy pipe and all of that kind of cool stuff to go along with it. Didn't get a chance to do it, but that was kind of in the it would be cool if category. Skid saying, I want to go live close-ish to COTA. No excuses. Right on. DM saying, Skids, if you're going to want to run away with the circus, for sure. Yeah, that life can be very addictive. But yeah, no, I have looked into potentially doing a classic, a true classic build. And you know, the funny thing is that you start to look into them, there's so many bikes that are out there though that are still attainable and that really won't break the bank. And one of the first ones that comes to mind is a CB750. So many of those bikes out in the wild right now, and a lot of them are modified. Ton of those bikes are cafe racer converted, which I always thought that bike was really good as a cafe racer. There's other ones that are out there too, though. And the Harley Davidson CR was one that would be cool. I can't remember the damn name of the movie, but Michael Douglas was in a street race on that bike. And I always found that to be a really cool Harley Davidson. Back when Harley Davidson did make kind of sporty bikes. What's the other one? The FTX? What the hell was it? Anyway, I can't remember all of them. But yeah, the CR was pretty cool. I think is what it was. Harley Davidson CR. It's got a cafe cowl on it. It's a really cool looking bike. But you know, something that would be a little bit different, though, something that would be cool, but still parts would be available. And again, anything Suzuki, I'm like 2 thumbs up and yes, please, more. Thank you. Because I am a little bit of I'm a little bit of a Suzuki guy at heart. Always loved Honda too, but man, the latest batch of Hondas just do not fit me well. It kind of sucks. Kawasaki is sort of the same way. From an ergonomic standpoint, but Suzuki, very, very, very good. Plus, it's kind of funny. Oh yeah, the XR 1200. That's the one I was thinking of. Good luck finding one of those too. I'm going to say, B, ride a hyper bike. So here's one for you. We're trying to figure out which Hayabusa I'm going to take to do a ride and review. There are three. I think there's three at the dealership, and it's next on the list to ride. So Ryan said we need that ride along on a Hayabusa. Yeah. So that one's coming. In fact, what's the day? The 22nd. That one might be on the docket for early next week. We'll see. That is going to be an interesting ride because the Hayabusa is so different. It's kind of funny. The Hayabusa used to be, king of the streets, right? Well, a lot of things have changed since then. And now it really is leader bikes. They're making so much more power because they can rev so much higher than what they used to, that they kind of stepped over bikes like the Hayabusa ZX14. They've a little bit kind of stepped over those bikes, but man, there's something to be said for the Hayabusa still to this day, the ZX14 as well. And so I want to ride the Hayabusa primarily for nostalgia's sake. It's got just the coolest twin clock gauge. It's still a bit of a throwback bike. And look, if you want to make one fast, you can absolutely make them blisteringly fast to this day, but it's just a neat bike. They're a big bike. They're very comfortable, and they are crazy stable at speed from what I understand, because I've never ridden one. So I am looking forward to that experience. Skid saying, get on a Panigale V4. I tell you what, if I had a good relationship with the Ducati dealership, I would absolutely relish the opportunity to get on V4S or the new Panigale V2 for that matter. I would like to get my hands on a Panigale V2 because that is kind of the spiritual rival to arguably the best middleweight ever made, which is a GSXR 750. And to add to that, if it ever gets to market, the KTM RCR 990, there's going to be some pretty cool bikes coming to the table here in relatively short order, with the V2, the RCR from KTM, and the R9. And that's the other crazy thing, is that one's taken forever to show up to the party. Speaking of taking forever to show up to the party, this is like waiting on Christmas, but you don't know what day Christmas is coming for me. The Hornet 1000 is supposed to be showing up at the dealership like this week. Like it's supposed to be like landing sometime really soon. So we'll see. I don't know what that's looking like just yet, but it's almost like I'm on, baby notice on this deal. Like, okay, when it shows up, let me know, because I'm on the way, with the camera already charged up and everything. And that's a bike too. Listen, we've got access to every sport bike that is made, right? But there's still a lot of really cool naked bikes out there. And it's hard for me to call them naked because a bike like the Hornet is just a standard bike to me. Any motorcycle that you sit more upright on that doesn't have a fairing on it, that's kind of a standard. And I don't know that you can find a better value standard or a hot rod standard, large capacity or big power type of bike like that than the Hornet. That bike checks in at like 11.5 US dollar. I mean, that's a steal if you think about it. 155 horsepower and it costs 11,500. Wow. Other manufacturers are already on notice on the European side. We just got to get that bike here. And I am fingers crossed, pins and needles, that that bike shows up here pretty quickly. Oh, Breakstuff saying ZX11 is probably the best bang for the buck for a classic. Still stupid fast. And the Ram Air sounds wicked on him. I tell you what, the original ZX11, very cool bike. DM saying the Boost is surprisingly nimble for a big bike. It was nice to own. Tuck in the bubble and ludicrous speed. Yes. See, that's the thing. I've heard that it's a lot more light on its feet than people will give it credit for. And the other thing, and if you're not like into bikes or whatever, you'd almost be forgiven if you were to like people treat that bike like it's a snowmobile, right? Like it's you're going to be all stretched out. It's the thing's going to be about 8 feet long, and it's not like that. It's actually, it was never meant to be like that. And so anyway, I look at them and I go, man, that looks like an awesome ride. Like that looks like the type of bike where you really could stack mad miles on that type of bike. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that one. Ryan say the bike world used to be littered with turbo boosters. Yes, it was. Back in the day, that was the thing to do to those bikes. It's good saying to find that power to weight ratio for 11 grand. That Hornet is truly a steal. Putting CF Moto on inexpensive fast bikes. Yes. Well, and I'll put it to you like this too. Look, that Hornet SP, which is the bike that I'm going to be riding, again, not all that expensive, 155 horsepower, doesn't weigh all that much. It's got some electronic suite when it comes to rider aids. I'm just putting it on off or whatever the lowest setting is, the least intrusive setting. And get out there and have a good time with that bike. And I'll tell you what, here's the thing. I'm going to come away after riding that bike just probably saying, look, if you're in the market for a motorcycle, that bike is going to be a shut up and take my money kind of a bike. And I got to tell you, you wouldn't be wrong in getting that bike because it will literally do everything and it will keep you entertained while it's doing it. Man, I see bikes like that and I go, yeah, I get it. I really do get it. And I like that it's a bit more of a standard style bike too, that's able to do all of that. X is in. What's up, X? Ryan saying there's rumors of a 750 SS coming soon, so I don't know. Maybe it'll be close to the Gixxer. I don't know. It'd be cool if they get it out there, though. I like that. Listen, let me just say this, too. Ryan, if they do have a 750 SS hit market, and let's say the 750 SS, it doesn't have to be as powerful as the Gixxer. Let's say that it's 135 horsepower, 130 horsepower, and it's about the same weight. And instead of being 13.1, it's 10.5. Dude, you almost can't afford not to buy that bike. And I'm here to tell you, it'll have decent suspension. It'll be decently quick. It'll do everything really well. But the main thing that it'll do is you'll have another, and again, it does not have to be as powerful to be a contemporary of the Gixxer 750. And I feel like if more manufacturers would get back into the mold of a bike like that, it's a type of motorcycle that is not super intimidating to ride, but still very quick, very fun, and very engaging. It's, we're talking about in the show tonight, we're talking about picking the right bike for you. Listen, a 750 SS might be the right bike for a lot of folks. And a 750 SS, let's be honest, might poke and prod Suzuki just enough to update the GSXR 750. So maybe, I don't know. I feel like now would be a good time for Suzuki to maybe get a little bit more serious with the 750. Not that they have to, but there's so much on the table with that GSXR 750, that engine. There's so much more that they can do with it. There's another 10 horsepower in that bike just by changing pistons and not even touching the camshafts, just bumping the compression from 12.5 to 13.2 where it should be. Oh, yeah. And then if you add a little bit of little bit more duration to the camshafts, get a little bit more airflow through that engine. Now we're talking about, let's say it's a full 5% more power. That's an extra 7 or 8 horsepower right there that isn't going to affect emissions. It's not going to hurt anything, I wouldn't think. So, yeah, lots of fun that you can have with that. DM saying I use my, DM said I use my Busa to commute and for distance support touring. Nice. Had a full Yosh pipe with a tune. I don't go for chrome frame extended swing arm thing. Yeah, no, that would be a fun bike, man. X is saying, how's the T595? Doing great. I just rode it the other day. And I mean, that bike it fires right up. Usually, I say it fires right up. It usually fires right up. Sometimes it's a little cranky, no pun intended, but fired right up last time and took it for a spin. And, what's funny about the T595 is it's very old school in its approach. I mean, it's still, it's still kind of a Gen 1.5 sport bike. And I say 1.5 only because it has fuel injection. But yeah, you park that thing at, 105, 107-ish miles per hour indicated, and it just absolutely laps up miles ahead of you. Man, that thing is softly sprung and it's great. It's a great bike. I don't know that I have. Here's the thing with that bike. Let me plug this thing in before it croaks. Here's the thing about the T595. You almost don't want to get used to riding that thing because the old school charm really does start to come out on that bike. And what I mean by that is the riding position, the way that it sounds, the way that it just delivers this. I mean, you feel every time one of those pistons hits. The mid-range torque of that bike. It's just, that bike is so good and it delivers torque a lot like any leader class bike would today. And by the way, the T595 being a 955cc triple, and at the weight that it is, it's very similar in power to weight ratio that R9 is going to be. And so I can tell you, and the RPM range is the same. The horsepower range is almost the same. The torque is almost the same. All of this stuff is so much the same that I can tell you that I've kind of got an R9 just with no rider conveniences sitting in the shop now. And I can tell you that a bike like that is a treat to ride. Just, I wouldn't ask too much of it in terms of outright performance. But again, I can park that thing at pretty much whatever speed I want to. That triple is crazy silky smooth. And because of that, I mean, it's probably the best sport touring bike I've ever ridden, even though it's kind of not supposed to be that. You can see why so many folks overseas fell in love with that bike. Oh, Ryan saying they're testing for us. And nothing on production yet. Sovereign is in. What's going on, man? And I made moderator for the Benny Show. Cool. Saying stream looks good. Yes, we are not running into issues. So yeah, going on a little bit later, by the way, guys, it seems to get us through. It had never had anything to do with the internet connection. Come to find out, it's just the amount of traffic on YouTube as it ebbs and flows. Going on at, say, 9:30-ish, right around in there, it makes more sense because we're able to have a little bit cleaner sailing. Ryan saying, we also know CF Moto 750 SS will be a poke at the Gixxer because of the price. Yep. Sovereign saying, B, I'm hearing the Viper might return. Lovely. That's great. Wow. Look, if the Viper makes a return, I don't want to get too far off topic here, but what's it going to cost? Also, isn't there like a Miata type car that they were talking about too? Something around $30,000. Look, the problem with any of these new cars, this is one of the reasons why I'm just kind of, I've banked right and went stick back on cars, is because I can't relate with them anymore. I hate to say it, guys, but I mean, bikes are my first love. Always loved cars, always loved vintage cars, the old school hot rods. This modern stuff, the reason why I can't really get into them anymore, outside of, I don't know, setting records with Hellcats and Scat Packs and RT cars, outside of that, right? Just because I love tuning, I love racing. But it's the cost of the damn things. I can't get past it. The problem that I have is that everything is so prohibitively expensive. I feel like I didn't work this long and this hard in my life to, be at a point where I was, oh man, it'd be great. The new Viper is coming out. Let's get all excited about it. Why? I'm never going to be able to afford it. I'm not going to put myself out just to be able to have one of those cars. And again, I loved my Vipers. I got really good with them. And man, I mean, I still have, when I set one of the records, I still have it right there. So yeah, I mean, but the problem is that we're going to get to a point where it's astronomically expensive and it's not even fun anymore at that point. Some are saying if Viper came back, it wouldn't be a true Dodge. True that. Oh, Skid saying, yeah, we've got some storied nameplates maybe making an appearance. Who cares? I'm sorry, I can't be bothered. The well of give a fucks has kind of run dry when it comes to a lot of that stuff. And I'm sorry. If Skid's talking about the ZR1 being 200 grand, what's the Viper going to run? Yeah. I mean, I'm supposed to get excited about that? No, not really. Not at that price. And it's not even a Halo car anymore at that point. It really isn't. But yeah, whatever happens with those happens. Like I say, I cannot really get, I hate to say it, I just cannot find myself getting worked up over any of the car stuff right now. Now that being said, if Dodge dropped a high output Hurricane 6 into an itty bitty platform that had all wheel drive, yeah, I might get excited about that. They want to call that the CUDA, then I'll be on board, but not really. Skid saying, thank God for motorcycle. Yes. Motorcycle, very good. Motorcycle, very good, because so many different flavors of motorcycle out there. And again, that's the other side of it that I like the most about the bikes, is that it is such a diverse group of machines, such a diverse group of riders. The cool thing about motorcycles, since I've been doing motorcycle content, I've been able to interact, and I say this a lot, but I've been able to interact with people from literally every corner of the planet, of the earth that we live on. I mean, I've talked to guys in Singapore. I've talked to guys in Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, and then Ecuador, Venezuela. I've talked to guys in anywhere in Europe. I've talked to Russia guys. I've talked to people all over the United States, more so than I ever would get a chance to. Philippines, Hawaii. I mean, I've talked to folks from literally every dot on the planet because of my bike stuff. And that is it's so cool. I get to do this. It's fun. Not only do I get to ride motorcycles, but I get to hang out with people from all over the planet. How neat is that? So I'm just having a lot more fun with it. And I'm getting to meet a whole lot of new people that I'd have never had an opportunity to get a chance to know. Skid saying, and these days gatekeepers are very few and far between. It's a tight knit group, no matter what you ride. Absolutely. And that's the other cool thing about it too, is that, as I'm more and more involved with some of the Harley Davidson stuff that I'm hoping to have come up here pretty soon. And some of the, again, everything that's going on, it's, all thanks to Stubbs Cycles and Stubbs Harley Davidson, all of the ability to, get a chance to meet folks of all different walks of life, all different backgrounds, all different experiences. That's the fun part of the motorcycle. And, Ryan's saying, yeah, the motorcycle world is so less snobbish. Not that we don't give each other shit, though. Yeah, Skid's checking in with that. Yeah, for sure you're going to do that. But no, the thing is that it's such a cool, unique experience that, I got to chat with a dude from Vietnam the other day. The dude's got his own coffee shop in Vietnam that's also like a bike hangout. That's kind of cool stuff, right? So it's just such a neat and different from the car side, where that can be kind of landlocked. Motorcycles are absolutely not that. And the other thing too is most guys that are into bikes, like I was saying earlier, they're not locked into a brand, a type of bike or anything. A lot of these guys, we all have all different kinds of bikes from all different manufacturers. So, man, you can't sit here and tell me whatever brand it is that you're trying to prop up is all that great. I got one too, and it sucks. And like Ryan said, plus bikes take up less space, more room for more. Absolutely. Skid saying amen. Makes me feel loved about ribbing. So yeah, I get it, and that again is what enriches, my world anyway, is the ability to have those different experiences and visit and talk to these different guys and see how they view the world. Man, that's all coming from the bike content. So, but with that, guys, I do have to wrap it up. We've been going on for an hour. I got to get back to work. So with that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and check out. Listen, I appreciate each and every one of y'all hanging out. If it's your first time hanging out on the live show, this is kind of how it works. I'm typically talking about bikes on Two Wheel Tuesdays. And used to talk about cars more on Saturdays, but it's evolved more into bikes now in that respect. Usually Saturdays live show is more of an open chat. But with that, guys, the background noise generator has got to wrap up. Hit that like and subscribe if you're hanging out with us and dug what you saw. And also, don't forget, get out there and do something cool for somebody. Chances are they need it way more than you know. And with that, guys, that's a wrap. Thanks again. Hope to catch you on the next one. Take care.